When I coach on today's show, Holds Court, you sit, you listen, and I'll be tasked with that blessed opportunity today because we're going to approach a mindful way to coaching and life. Sit back, buckle up, and please welcome to the show a Colorado coaching legend, and I don't use that lightly, John Welsch. Welcome to Sporting Denver, and thank you very much for your time, John. Appreciated. How are you, my friend?
Well, thanks for the kind words and the introduction, Richie. Good morning. I'm super excited about being on your show and talking soccer and talking life.
We go back a long way, without too much interaction over several decades, but we are footy fanatics and coaches, respectively. I may not be in your league, John, but a mindful approach to coaching and life, integrating that. What's your opinions? What's that look like for you, John?
Yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey as a coach where early in my career, winning was very important to, in a time and space where I'm now, where I understand that soccer is a tool to becoming a good human being. And yeah, I pride myself that the players who play for me, I hope they become better soccer players, but more importantly, I hope they become better human beings. And so, yeah, the soccer practices, the games are a part of it, but also giving back to the community and doing things that gets them thinking about, hey, what can I do to make my community better, to make my circle better? And I think that has been the biggest change from my early coaching career to where I'm right now.
That early. When did you decide, John? Right, I'm going to coach, and what sort of tools did you bring then?
Yeah, I started coaching in Boulder in 1989. I've been playing professional soccer, and in those days, pre-MLS, professional soccer was quite challenging. I remember one summer playing in the American Soccer League in Dallas where owners would leave mid-season and paychecks were bouncing around. And so, it was different times. I look at the MLS now and I go, God, we've come a long way,
Sure.
a long way. But, I always loved the game. I loved coaching. And I think, early on, I still had that player mentality. And, I think, I became a coach because I love the game and I still wanted to be around the game. And I think, that's why we become coaches. And in those days, there was no internet, there was no YouTube. And so the activities, exercises you brought with you from your coaches, your playing background. What did you like? What didn't you like? And then you kind of begged, borrowed, and stole from other coaches. It was all about going to coaching clinics and I like that and I like that. I'm going to add that to my coaching puzzle. And I know I don't like that at all. So it was completely different. But I started coaching because I loved the game and I could not imagine doing anything else.
So you've decided to transition from playing. You've gone into coaching. You've brought your game, maybe mentality into the coaching product, maybe.
Yeah.
From back home, was there any influences that somebody influenced you, in inside the game and maybe coaching as well that you bought from the wonderful Netherlands, John?
Yeah. So growing up in the Netherlands, my idol was Johan Cruyff. My bedroom walls were covered with posters of Johan Cruyff, and my growing up in Holland was a great time because street soccer was king in Holland, and so I just remember running from my elementary school to the playground, and and trying to imitate Johan Cruyff, and after I scored a goal, I would do his Johan Cruyff celebration, and his moves and his mannerisms on the field. So my little playground was my Johan Cruyff imitation
Of course.
setting. But as far as coaching in those days, Rinus Michels was he was probably I think for so many coaches he was an example. But there was also another coach in Holland, and his name was Wiel Curver.
Right.
And the funny thing is that Wiel Curver, he was able to come up with the Curver way of coaching. And it's funny because I remember Michels and Curver kind of having this discussion about where Curver felt that, hey, you can become a good player by imitating the moves of the top players. And so that's
right.
With the Curver moves, it's essentially he broke down all the moves of the top players, and then you have to imitate them. And for just repetition. Whereas Michels was more about, listen, it's about being able to make the right choice at the right time. And to me, I tend more towards the Michels philosophy, where the game is about making the right decisions, making the right choices. Whereas the Curver way can be helpful, but it's a tool, not the end. And I think Curver felt that, by just doing his exercises, his moves, you can become a good player. And I think the Curver moves, methods, it's a great warm up. And then you have to get into playing because it's about making the right choices. So Michels, a big influence, yeah.
Do you think in the environment that you create as a coach, the responsibilities of that, do you think that we really need to take a hold of, and you've mentioned Curver, that skill set, the younger age players, just let them do it and we'll figure out when and where at a later date, that freedom? Because I think that's what it is, the expression, John.
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting because, growing up, I mentioned street soccer was king. And,
huge.
There were no adults telling me what to do, where to stand, how to do it. We saw older players do something and we go, let's try that. And so it was by experimentation, imitation, and just trying. And it's interesting, looking back at my youth playing days or even throughout my whole career, I don't remember many practices. I don't look back and go, ooh, that coach had a great progression to his practices. I remember certain moments, but I don't remember, the nuts and bolts of a practice. I remember the personalities of coaches, what they made me feel. But I don't remember, oh yeah, we went through a warm up, we did curver moves, we went into possession play. No, I don't remember any of that. You know, the thing that stands out for me is what, you know, as a 16-year-old being invited to come train with the seniors under the light at 7 o'clock at night, and we would just play a full-sided game. And that stands out for me as that's how we practiced.
John, in that environment, I'm going to throw this question at you. Can we be too structured sometimes? You said about, you know, YouTube, and there was none of that then, and there is now. There's a lot, in fact. You can get overloaded. Yeah. Are we sometimes too structured with a practice session, John?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. You know, throughout my coaching career, I've tried to teach especially the younger coaches, said, hey, listen, try and create a street soccer environment at your practices, especially for the younger players, because younger players, when they come to practice, the first thing they ask is, are we going to scrimmage?
Yes.
And so, you know, I think, you know, US Soccer came out recently with the whole method of coaching, where you start out with a game or a scrimmage, and then you break it up, and then you go back to the scrimmage. I think with young players, I've done it, you know, recently, where especially with the 9, 10, 11-year-olds, when they come to practice, they're going to go right into a 2-on-2, 3-on-3 type scrimmage, which I like, because a lot of times, you know, kids come in late, they're fighting traffic, and when they come in and you're involved with an activity, it's always like, what are we doing? What's going on? But when they're coming a little late and they're seeing a 2-on-2, 3-on-3, or 4-on-4 scrimmage, then, hey, there's no question. Just jump in, put on a penny, and play. So, and the game is the best teacher, right?
Sure.
You know, unlike golf or tennis, where, you know, you just got to hit the same backhand or topspin forehand over and over and over. Soccer is about, you're going to get better by playing the game. Now, having said that, I still think there's need for technical development, because especially in the United States, the reality is that many players, the only time they play soccer is when they come to your practice.
Sure.
Practice Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Are they playing on Tuesday, Thursdays? Some of them might. Many of them are not. But it's those Tuesday, Thursday, playing by yourself or playing in the streets or whatever, that's where you're going to get better. And yeah, so it's a long-winded answer. Yes, sometimes we're too structured.
It's just... Would you recommend, you know, your team you've got to be careful, obviously, you know, you can, you're the younger generation, 5, 6 and 7 can be like herding cats, John. You know, you've got to have some dynamics in there of structure, but more play, maybe less cones. It could be you get a couple of players to say, okay, there's the pennies, there's the balls, I want to see you set this up, and away you go. Is that an option? Is that, or am I just throwing it out there? Just.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point. You know, are they able to do that?
Right.
You know, because again, the street soccer culture is not here. It's not really present. So they don't know what street soccer looks like. Right. I mean, if you and I, if the coach would say, hey, create your own game, no problem. I think it might be a problem. However, if you start your season and set up little 2-on-2, 3-on-3 games, and you call it a tournament, and you know, if after a few weeks of doing that, and you come to practice and tell your players and say, hey, I want you to create your own tournament, I think they can do that.
almost passing on a little bit of accountability, responsibility on that side of the game. This is what a coach does, but I'm giving it to you. And would it be fair to say we have to give the game to the players and tentatively offer what we know? Almost, I want to say guided discovery, John.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll go back to my street soccer experience, and you walk out of your house with a soccer ball, and next thing you know, there's 20 kids on the playground, and again, there are no adults, dividing the teams. It's two kids who become the captains, or it's like, hey, Richie, you and I and Stevie, the three of us against everybody else.
Right.
And so you create your own games, and what I love about that setting is you create personalities, and you create little coaches on the field, and you create players who can take responsibility, and you create players who become leaders because they have to create the environment where the game can start and continue and end. And so, yeah, I mean, we need to give that to our young players.
Do you think, John, a coach, whether they're learning or even an experienced coach, just to take 5, 10, even 15 minutes, or let it go longer, just let them go on occasions at those, just let them go. Could I learn more from that as a coach? Just let them go, John.
Yeah. Well, my coaching progression, I think early on it was the stop, freeze, and teach, right? Yeah. And as a player, I absolutely hated that because you want to play. I prefer, let the kids play, break down the games into 10-minute segments or whatever. And after each 10 minutes, bring them together and say, hey, what's going well? What can we do better? If we want to focus on wide play, what can we do better to create wide play? So I think situations like that where they're playing and they know that they're going to play for a set period of time, and then after that set period of time, we come in and then we do some coaching. I think that's far more beneficial than the constant interrupting and trying to fix what's going wrong. So yeah, I'm all about the play.
I'm gonna sort of fast forward, stroke rewind.
Yeah.
Culture growing up, Europe, Holland, obviously. Yeah. You've got yourself over here to the US, to play and study and evolve. Your first take on getting into the US and playing some soccer and studying and the difference in the culture. What did you get from that for your first impressions, John?
Well, here's a funny story. So, I left Holland where, we spoke earlier, during the winter months, it's in the 40s, drizzle all the time. During the summer months, if it's in the mid 70s, it's a heat wave and everybody's complaining about the heat. So I flew into Dallas, Texas, and this was early August. I was 17 years old, and the doors opened. I walked out the airport, and it was 100 degrees.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. Now, I always enjoyed sunshine and warmth, but that heat was just beyond anything I'd ever experienced. So I remember my first game for North Texas State was at the University of Houston, and it must have been 100 degrees, humidity, and I think I lasted for about 15 minutes, and I said, you gotta take me out. And they poured water all over me, and I don't know if I went back in that half, but yeah, it definitely was it definitely was an adjustment from going Dutch climate to the Texas heat. But my years at Texas were just awesome. I great memories, teammates, coaches, being on campus, studying the Texas girls. It was
Good for you, John.
Yeah, it was cool. It was pretty cool.
On the field side of it, you've come out your environment, playing maybe a certain style, across there in Holland, John. What was it like in terms of tactical, technical athleticism here? Was that a drastic change, or were there some similarities along the way, John?
Well, it was interesting. So the team that I arrived to at North Texas State, we had a goalkeeper. He was in his late 20s from the Czech Republic. He had been on the Czech Olympic team. They had been in the U.S. for a tour, and he escaped because at the time you still had the wall.
Right.
So he stayed. So we had a goalkeeper from the Czech Republic. We had guys from Nigeria. We had guys from Peru, Argentina, Chile, the U.S., Jamaica. So it almost felt like a world all-star team.
Yeah, right.
With different ages, because as I said, I was 17, and then our keeper was 28. So I can't say there was. It was just like an all-star team. I mean, the experience was great. The level was interesting just because we had all these different players from all over the world playing together. But especially my junior and senior year, where we had a little bit more cohesion, we really became a good team. But my freshman year, it definitely was like, whoa, what is this? Interesting, but different.
So over that period, you sort of grew into it, John. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And you talked about influences, across the globe, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then you went on to obviously the wonderful, in my opinion, North American Soccer League. Yeah. We got some players, some legends come over, and so you had a stint in that league as well, John. What was that experience like for you? Just stepping up into the pro level, really.
I had a cup of coffee with the Chicago Sting.
Yeah,
and the summer before, fall, they had won the NESL championship, and so I was there that following winter, and the NASL actually played indoor soccer.
Right.
And, to me, looking back, it's like, wait a minute, indoor soccer off the walls, and in those days, it was about, all right, how can we get the American fan interested in soccer? And it's, okay, we need goals, we need action, we need craziness. And indoor soccer is craziness. I mean, it has absolutely nothing to do with the beautiful game.
Right.
It was interesting because we played in the old Chicago Stadium, which they sold out, and it was so loud you could not hear yourself talk. But indoor soccer was not for me. It was interesting because, I left North Texas State and I was the big man on campus, the All-American, and then you come to this setting where you're not really comfortable playing indoor. You're playing with with these stars that Karl-Heinz Grunitzka, Arno Steffenhagen, who used to play with Ajax, and all these German guys. And, you lose your confidence. And next thing you know, it's like, all right, this is not the right place. And I found a spot with the Dallas Americans, which had a better fit. It was kind of close to the campus. And that worked out pretty good. But it was interesting. It was interesting.
Indoor, John, it's a whole new skill set, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. It's whereas playing outdoor, you develop a rhythm and you read the game. Whereas the indoor game, it's about these bursts of energy, and then it's like in hockey. You go in for a set of 60 seconds, 70 seconds, 90 seconds, and then you're off again. So, it's almost impossible to get a rhythm.
I'm just throwing this one out, and you've triggered something in here, which not necessarily dangerous, but could be. That street soccer balance, the US culture is a lot of indoor, certainly relative to where you are geographically, playing indoor 5v5, 6v6, 7v7.
Yeah.
As a coach, would you maybe give any advice? Because it's completely two different games, John, that could be beneficial for bringing out on, to the 11v11 game, John. Would you anything?
As I said, I think indoor soccer with the walls is craziness.
Yeah.
But I love futsal.
Gotcha.
Futsal with the weighted ball, with the lines, because I feel that futsal is probably the closest that we have to street soccer.
Yeah.
And so, especially here in Colorado, this past January and February, we've had snow on the ground pretty much every single day.
Yeah.
So I think futsal, it helps with, one, the confidence on the ball. You use the bottom of your foot, inside your foot, outside your foot, little flicks. And I think it helps with your decision making because everything has to happen so quick. So I think futsal is actually a pretty good game. Now here's a funny story. Growing up in Holland, I remember the indoor game all of a sudden became somewhat popular, but it was hardwood floors.
Yeah.
And our coaches actually deterred us from playing indoor soccer because I remember, most of the leagues were like a Friday night. So you play a game and then it was, all right, you had a beer after the game, and that beer became 1 or 2 or 3 beers. But our coaches would say, hey, I don't want you playing indoor soccer because it develops poor habits like using the bottom of your foot. And most of the games in Holland and in England as well, you wear your studs because the ground is so soft. And,
yep.
If you start using the bottom of your foot with studs, that's not going to work.
Do you think futsal has a little bit more accountability for your technique, your touch, because it's out of bounds?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It is like a little mini field.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the indoor game with the walls, the walls become a crutch, and it becomes more, okay, let's bang the ball off the wall, and to me that's not soccer.
Foot hockey.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
John, I can't thank you enough for your time. It's an education. Anybody out there, anybody that's going to be listening to this now or in the future, John is always worth listening to at length. So any local clubs that want to get John in to talk to you, I'm going to throw that one on you, John. Parents, there we go, as well as the players, or for any, John, you'd make yourself available for a nice chat, wouldn't you, my friend?
Hey, one thing I saw at the start, you have the little letters underneath. So I am not the founder of Kick to Build. The founder is actually Nana Bokye from Ghana. He founded Kick to Build, and I joined Nana, and I'm adding the competitive side. And the youth soccer side. But yeah, Nana founded it, and just a great program. And talk about a great human being. Nana might be something you want to have on your show one day.
Coincidentally, John, this was going to be my last question. Talk about your involvement and the foundations of Kick to Build. And I spoke with a fine young gentleman yesterday who is coming on the show at a later date. Kick to Build, John, what is it?
So Kick to Build is a youth soccer club founded by Nana Bokye from Ghana. And we wanna make sure that in youth soccer, it's fun, it's friends, it's great memories, it's learning about the game, playing with a smile on your face, and we want to keep the costs as mindful as possible for the parents, because I feel that the expenses in youth soccer have gone out of control.
Kick to Build. I'm going to get myself a T-shirt, John. I will be speaking with Nana, and I'll probably run into you on that as well.
Okay.
Sporting Denver would love to be involved in that. And I think there's an alignment there, John, from, you know, when you've gone to play in college, you come over to US, the multinational community.
Yes.
Has it got a full circle? And now it's the youth and multinational with the fantastic coaches we have here, John, in Colorado.
Yeah, and that's, you know, and that's, I love to see that. You know, that is what I think will propel soccer in the United States to another level. Just the influences from whether it's Latin America, Mexico, Africa. You know, I'd love to see you know, the different cultures involved, not only as coaches and players, but just to, yeah, we are a melting pot, and
yep,
so
brilliant.
Let's see this continue. Richie, this was fun.
I can't let you go. Quick five questions. I've got to throw them straight at you.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask you to leave us with a final message, John. So, question number one. Of all time, over many decades, whatever, who's your favourite team, John?
Ajax.
Oh, a production line, a conveyor belt of talent. I'll leave it on that. Coach, all time, present, past, whomever.
Johan Cruyff.
He started all the ball rolling, didn't he, really? Yeah. I'll leave that one on that. People can go and figure this one out.
Yeah.
The best game, whether you've been there or it's TV, past, present, best game you've ever seen, John?
Ooh. Even though Ajax lost that game, but it might have been the Ajax-Tottenham game a couple of years ago where Tottenham came back, won 3-2. I mean, that was a thriller.
Had everything, right?
Yeah.
Player, I think I know. Player, yeah. All time, ever, untouchable.
Well, you know, I love Cruyff, but I might have to say Messi is my, you know, yeah, he's done so much. And even though he hasn't won the World Cup, he has done so much over his career. And there's so many moments that put a smile on my face. So even though you know, on one hand, I'm going Cruyff, on the other hand, I got to say Messi.
Well, both selections, John, they're not bad, are they, really? You know, so I'll give you those. I'm going to leave you with question 5, as well as your final message. In a nutshell, what advice would you give to a young coach transitioning from playing, or maybe still playing, could be co-ed? The first pieces of advice you would give a coach, and I'm going to say thank you, and thank you. Cheers, John. We'll catch up in the near future, my friend. Regards and best wishes from Sporting Denver to your family and loved ones. I'll leave that final one with you. Thanks, John.
So my advice to young coaches, try and see the big picture. And I know winning is so much fun, but there is the big picture. I want you to think about your young players. I want you to think that those players are going to hear your voice 10, 15, 20 years from now. Make sure that that voice, that message is a positive one, so that they look back and have a smile on their face. So, Richie, this was fun, and looking forward to maybe doing this again.
Are you a soccer coach that wishes you could focus more on the game, over scheduling, organising and planning? The problem with being a soccer coach is there are so many people involved in the team. You have the players, the parents, the club administrators, and that's not including the other team, the referees, and of course scheduling your games. Hello, I'm Richie English and I'm the Regional Director for the Coach app. This is a customisable software solution for clubs that gives soccer coaches the freedom to focus on coaching instead of everything else that steals their time and energy.
This is an all-in-one app that can be up and running in as little as 1 week. Schedule a demo on our website to find out if this is the all-in-one solution you've been looking for.